What's good, YouTube? This your boy Derek Branch here, SportsView360.com, covering the New Orleans Saints today as I recap another hard-fought, tough loss, a game filled with a few more victories for your New Orleans Saints as it fell short to the Buffalo Bills by a score of 31-19. This loss gives the Saints their fourth straight defeat of the 2025 season. They're now 0-4 on the season. The Buffalo Bills, they're 4-0 on the season. And the Saints are the only, I think I'm correct on this, but the Saints are the only winless team in the National Football League right now. Because the team that the Saints play next week, the New York Giants, they got their first win of the season by defeating the Los Angeles Chargers at home today. Saints head back home from a 2-game road trip to the season Superdome for the Giants next week. But let's get to this game against the Buffalo Bills. Now, in regards to the results of this game, the after effects of this game, to review this game, to me, we got more of what we saw the first two games of the season when we talk about how the Saints played against the Buffalo Bills today compared to last week where they just got off the plane and everything was just off track against the Seattle Seahawks in week 3. Um, this is what you saw. Today's effort is what you saw in those first two games of the season where the Saints played Arizona Cardinals pretty hard and he played the San Francisco 49ers pretty hard, but resulted in a loss. But in this game, we saw some bright spots. We saw we saw a lot of positives to me in this game compared to those two games I just mentioned. And this ain't got nothing to do with the quarterback position. I'm gonna talk with it later on later on in the recap. But when this game started off, Buffalo they scored for it first, of course, but the Saints came right back down there and scored a touchdown against this Buffalo Bills team. Now I want to give a shout out to Bob Rose of Saints Wire on USA Today.com because they wrote an article. He wrote an article discussing um, how bad the Bills rush defense is, and that's an area where the Saints could possibly exploit in this game. And you look at the numbers on what the Bills were giving up against the rush. I think the defense is like dead last against the rush, against defending the rush, and they gave up, I believe, like over 150 yards a game. And the Saints did a good job running the football today. I think Alvin Kamara had 15 carries, 70 yards, averaged 4.7 yards a clip. Kendra Miller, one of those positives that I was discussing earlier in this game. He had 11 carries, 65 yards, 5.9 yards per carry. He had one touchdown, as long as it was an 18-yard. His touchdown is what tied the game up at 7-7. And then after that, man, the Saints had some chances in this matchup to where they could have taken the lead, momentarily, but it didn't work out that way. They had multiple trips inside the red zone, but couldn't capitalize. To me, they couldn't execute when they needed to win this game. That's just what happened in this matchup. A team like Buffalo, even though you did I thought the Saints did a really good job of running the football against this Bills defense. We got a guy like Josh Allen on the other end. It's just only so much you can do to like slow him down. And the Saints just don't have the quarterback like that to, match up with him in those type of games, in these type of games. But the Bills, they looked a little sluggish in this game. They did. They looked really sluggish in this matchup. Hurricane Mike says the Saints won. The Saints fought, but not hard enough. Yeah, you're right. They fought, but not hard enough, man. That's just what happened today. This is what rebuilding teams do. Rebuilding teams that are tanking organically, and that's what the Saints are doing. The Saints are not going out here and intentionally losing games on purpose. They're losing games because they're just not good enough right now. And I still believe the wins will come on the schedule. There will be wins on the same schedule, but to me, I think, in my opinion, they just got through the most hardest slate of the schedule right now. If you'd have been, let's just say you'd have been 2-2. Let's just say you beat the 49ers and the Cardinals and then lose these next two. I don't think I think the Saints would have been in good shape. You know what I'm saying? But to me, I think you got to take some more victories out of this. There was a lot of more victories in this game that I saw. There's some good and bad, but I like what I saw to certain players like Kendrick Miller. This was, even though it was like 11 carries, 65 yards, 5.9 yards per carry. This was his best outing as a Saint. Hopefully, we could get more of this going forward. I'm glad that Kellen Moore started to play some of these young guys like a Kendrick Miller. Pair him up there with an Alvin Kamara. You know what I'm saying? They did a really good job. Spencer Rattler did a really good job on the ground today as a runner. 6 carries, 49 yards, average 8.2 yards per carry. The Bills rush defense is just not good right now. It just ain't. You know what I'm saying? But the Saints defense, kept to me at times they weren't good against the rush because they let James Cook rush for 117 yards on 22 carries and 1 touchdown. He averaged 5.3 yards per carry. Then they let Josh Allen run for 7 carries, 45 yards. He had a touchdown, 6.4 yards per carry. It just, you're just not that good. That's just why the Saints lost to the Bills. The game was winnable, but when you don't have the talent on your side of the ball, on your side, on your team, it's just gonna be difficult to beat somebody like a Josh Allen. It just is. You know what I'm saying? And Spencer Rattler is just not good enough. He's not. The team doesn't have a really good. The defense is not good enough to where you can have Spencer Rattler go out there and get by with what he's doing. Where he's just danking and dunking. You know what I'm saying? Passes with it, short to intermediate passing game. He's just not good enough. This team is just not good enough for him to continue on like that. You know what I'm saying? But there were moments in this game where the Saints could have taken the lead, where Spencer Rattler's pass to not Chris Olave, to Brandon Cooks, that was on Spencer Rattler because the ball went behind him, and Brandon Cooks had a difficult time trying to adjust his body to catch that ball. That's just what it was. That was on Spencer Rattler. Um, the play ran where they tried to do the flea flicker, and I believe Chris Olave threw an interception. I believe that was, yeah. They wanted to throw Rattler threw the ball to Chris Olave, a flea flicker. Rattler went into the end zone to catch the pass, and as soon as the Bills caught on to it, they immediately blitz Chris Olave, and that just threw the thing off, and he threw an interception. I thought, maybe he got a little too cute right there because the Saints need points, man. You need all the points you can get. And it's a game where Blake Ruby made all his field goals for the first time. made all his field goals. But you got to win those. I mean, to beat a team like Buffalo, you got to get your points. You got to get points. Field goals, touchdowns. You got to get points. Your defense has to hold him in check for all 4 quarters. You have to, because they force the Saints defense also forced an interception that they couldn't take advantage of. By I think it was Jonas Sanker that caught the interception. Another one of my 2 positives from this game. Jonas Sanker had an interception, 5 tackles, 3 pass defended. Good game by Jonas Sanker. But when a team like Buffalo makes mistakes like that, you have to make them pay. Because you got the ball back. You turned the ball over. You got the interception. You was deep in that territory in the red zone, and you couldn't capitalize. So all you're doing is when Buffalo gets the ball back, they're able to do something with it. So it just the Saints just lost the game because you're not good enough. That's just what it is, man. And Chris Olave, he got touchdown today, but this was just not a good outing by Chris Olave, man. And I wouldn't. It's not me speaking down on him or anything like that, but maybe it'll be better served if he goes to a team that has a better quarterback situation. Because right now, playing in New Orleans with Spencer Rattler, for some reason, they don't have good chemistry. Spencer Rattler and Chris Olave do not have good chemistry as a wide receiver quarterback duo. So it might be better if you can find a suitor for him by the trade deadline and see what you can get. It just is. You know what I'm saying? So not a good game by Chris Olave to me. Now, in regards to Spencer Rattler, I see a lot of, posts online in the message board and Reddit talking about how Twitter saying Spencer Rattler is not part of the problem. Saints report saying Rattler is the problem. That's been like the ongoing conversation for the entire day. To me, Rattler's not the problem, not the whole problem, but he's not looking like the solution right now either. He's just not. But to me, and I keep saying this is what rebuilding teams do. This is what rebuilding teams go through. They find a way to lose. And that's what the Saints continue to do throughout the week, throughout the season, throughout these first 4 games of the season. They're finding ways to lose and not finding ways to win. And I know people are getting fed up with it. Some people feel as though, you find a lot of moral victories in these games. You're finding some positives. But I know that a lot of people want to see this team start to win. And I think that'll come, but it ain't gonna happen right. It ain't these first four games of the season, the way they're playing out, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that the Saints are winless right now. I thought maybe you go 1-3, but it is what it is. I'm not surprised you're not winning games right now. Maybe that could change by next week though. But Spencer Rattler is not the whole problem of what's wrong with the New Orleans Saints. There's other elements of this team that have, that are having issues, that are making mistakes. Because a lot of these guys that have been screwing up are veterans. Guys like a Cesar Ruiz. Chris Olave dropping passes. Juwan Johnson dropping passes in certain moments of the game. And Spencer Rattler was not that good today. He wasn't. You throw that pass behind. If he was able to connect with Brandon Cooks with that touchdown, that would have been, Saints would have had the lead in this game. But he didn't. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And People want to see when Tyler Shuck is going to be ready. People want to see Tyler Shuck get out there because they feel as though the Saints are wasting a pick by not having him out there. But maybe he's just not ready right now. Maybe he's not. Kellen Moore, they know when Charlotte Tyler Shuck is going to be ready. They know that. They're giving Spencer Rattler all the chances he can get to win this job going forward. They're giving him ample opportunity to win this job. I know a lot of people are pointing back to his record last season, and I'm just saying, well, he is not 0-10, but under Kellen Moore, he's 0-4. You know what I'm saying? They evaluate him off of what they're seeing this year, because last year he was being evaluated under a different staff. The only difference is that last year's staff was the staff that drafted him. This year's staff is somebody else. It's an entirely different group that drafted their own quarterback. And for some, I mean, they just don't feel as though Tyler Shuck is ready right now. They just don't. You know? So we just gotta, as fans, Saints fans, you just gotta be patient to see what's gonna happen. To see if they'll put Shuck in. If they lose next week, then maybe that's a chance that they put Tyler Shuck in. Who knows? But I think next week, I'm not 100% sure, but I think next week the Saints can win that game against Jackson Dart. We'll see how it all play out, man. But I think that's a winnable game. It's at home. They just lost, and I'm not speaking. I'm not rooting for this guy, but that this happened. I'm not glad that this stuff happened to him. But former LSU Tiger wide receiver Malik Neighbors is out for the season after he suffered a torn ACL injury today. So that's one talent. That's one player. That's one really good player the Saints have to account for. And what you saw today out of Jonas Sinker and Kendra Miller, you got to feel good about this team going into next week's game against the New York Giants. It's at home. You know what I'm saying? So it sucks that Malik Neighbors won't be playing next week, but that's, like I said, that's one player the Saints the Saints secondary don't have to account for. Cesar Ruiz, I believe, left the game today with an injury. I felt as though the offensive line held up today. You know what I mean? I think they did a really good job running the football. Really good job. Over 100 as a team, at over 189 yards rushing today. That's really good. An average 5.6 yards per carry as a group. So hopefully, maybe that could be a formula to win going forward. But even if you do find, even if this is the formula to win games for the Saints, the defense still have to make some contributions. You know what I'm saying? Against defending these quarterbacks. And Jackson Dart is a quarterback that can run. I saw that today against the Chargers. And his team has always had issues with running quarterbacks. But then again, they defended Kyler Murray pretty well. Kyler Murray didn't really run for the most part when they played him in week 1. So we just gotta wait and see how it's all gonna play out, man. But Saints lose today by a score of 31-19. They're not 0-4 in the season. Spencer Rattler as a starter falls to 0-10. Up next for the New Orleans Saints is the New York Giants at home at the Season Superdome. But that's all I have for y'all for right now. Give me a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. What are your takeaways from today's game? If you listen to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, leave a review, 5-star rating. You know the rest. I'm out.